We're doing a last-minute boat job and DIY before leaving on a 4-day offshore passage. Destination? TBD. It's a little nerve-wracking, but we've just left right into rudder-hungry orca territory. Orcas in the vicinity, they just lost their rudder. Hi guys, it's Steph and Travis here. Remember how in our last episode we picked up a sweet new spinnaker by Precision Sails while sitting in Gibraltar?
Now we just need to figure out how to hoist this bloody thing with the hardware that we have. In our random little bag, I had a Lumar clutch, but it's good for an 8 to 10 mil rope. I need to go get a 10 mil halyard to run through the mast. We have one on the mast right now, but it's like a 14 mil and doesn't need to be that big. And I'm not going to go buy a different clutch. And then plus that 14 mil halyard that we have now becomes a backup for our mainsail. I also have a flat mounted block, an organizer. I took this from our old furling unit, how it used to be set up inside the anchor locker. That led the rope up and out of the deck. Then we also took this guy, which was a deck cover. That, was where the rope came out of the deck. So I'm going to figure out how to make these things work with what we have. So all we need to do is buy a halyard. It's just mounting the clutch. I can't get underneath the clutch, so I thought I'd have to drill a bigger hole and then fill it in with epoxy and then go back in and fill it. But hunters figured this out. What they did is it's solid glass. As you can see here, look at this good stuff. So it's solid glass for about 15 mils, and then there's actually an aluminum plate underneath that. So I can actually tap and die a bolt right to the deck, and it's going to be completely solid. Like, that's perfect. I don't have to epoxy anything. I don't have to try to figure out a backing plate because that wasn't going to happen. So it's already solid fiberglass with a backing plate embedded into it. Pretty sweet. Tap it. I'll still put a little bit of silicone in here. Our jib halyard, our main halyard, our reef one, and our main sheet. And I was actually able to add a block here because I couldn't find any 5-block deck organizers, so I had to use this guy, which worked out perfect because it just squeezes down there and ends up down there at the clutch. The only thing is it didn't line up here, so I had to go through this part, which is fine. Nothing crosses over each other. This is where it goes through the cover here. Yeah, that's how it should be. Everything in line. Goes through the block here and then to the clutch. They'll line up nicely. Go to the winch. Sorry for the generator noise in the background, but we ended up having to go find a 12 mil clutch. Found a nice spin lock one. I'm much happier with doing it that way because then we get to keep our 12 mil halyard, which is probably the size we'd want anyways. And I got really lucky that the drill holes that I drilled for the Lumar clutch are the exact same width apart, so I didn't have to do any extra drilling or fiberglass or anything, so that worked out perfectly.
In our last episode, we explained why we're pretty nervous to head out of the Strait of Gibraltar on our way to the Canary Islands before embarking on our Atlantic crossing to the Caribbean. This whole area is ORCA Alley. Pods of killer whales have been bumping rudders off, disabling and even sinking sailboats.
We've been kind of humming and hawing about when to leave,
trying to time our exit out of the strait well, because there's usually always some sort of current against you and it can get pretty nasty. We're trying to time it better than some previous boats have in other weather windows ahead of us. I think they've hit like 5-6 knots of current against them, and you're just kind of struggling to get your way out of the strait while also trying to dodge orcas. Very, very active with the quote-unquote attacks. A boat sunk the other day, so yeah, just trying to make our way out of the strait as fast as we can.
We're gonna try to cross the strait at high water, which is slack. We're gonna try to meet it at slack tide, get on the other side, and we're gonna try to find some counter currents and hopefully find the current that is gonna lead us out of the strait. It's so hard to even think about where you want to go because there's no right or wrong way. It's just luck of the draw, I guess. But anyways,
hope for the best.
Hope for the best, and hopefully we catch the tide so we can at least get out of here quickly.
We also wanted to time movement in daylight, so we're picking up anchor from La Linea/Gibraltar area, making our way to Tarifa in the evening to shave 2 hours off our travel time tomorrow. We're almost nearing time to go, and I think a lot of people are just traveling safety by numbers sort of thing. So we've got 2 boats here with us. I'm not sure if one of them's coming with us. The other one is. We're buddy boating across. Are you able to see anything?
Yeah, I'm watching the fishing boats and seeing what they're doing. If they're like lining up to the coast and seeing if they're drifting left or right.
The one thing that kind of freaked us out a little bit shortly after we arrived in this anchorage last evening was that we had seen there was another vessel shortly behind us following our track, and instead of pulling in here like we did, he continued out, and it looked like he was going to be crossing the strait at night. And then his track started doing something really funny. He started kind of squiggling around, turning around, and heading back. And then we saw that there was a rescue vessel that was out with him, and then he ended up getting towed into the port right behind us here. We haven't really heard an update on what happened, but with the funny looking track, a lot of people were suspecting it might have been an orca interaction. And a little nerve-wracking, but we've just left. We're just putting up the mainsail. We're gonna motor sail hopefully as fast as we can across the strait here. And I'm gonna be keeping an eye out. I'm gonna be on orca watch. This is the route we plan to take. You can see the end of the strait, but although it looks close, that point over there, Cap Spartel on the Moroccan coast, is a good 5 hours away. One of the boats that's just ahead of us here, heard him on the radio saying that he spotted orcas 8 miles, or couldn't really hear what he was saying, but 8 something, pretty close, west of the strait. So we're gonna try to snug a little bit more south. Tried calling him on the radio, but then we lost him, but he saw them, so we're just keeping our eyes peeled right now. That was notifying the boats about orcas in the vicinity. We just successfully radioed them, and they're pulling in because they just lost their rudder. And it's where they made a dramatic turn south where it kind of went all funny. We saw their track went funny, and now we're kind of approaching that area, so eyes are frickin' peeled. You might wonder why we didn't cross the strait earlier and then hug the Moroccan coast for the majority of the strait. We heard that the Coast Guard may push you out further into deeper waters, which increases your risk in orca territory. Plus, there are a ton of fishing boats, nets, and buoys which were actually our concern, especially if orcas follow the fish.
We just rounded the point of Cap Spartle, so we're kind of out of the hotspot zone now. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I'm hoping we are, that's for sure. My stress levels are coming down slightly, so I'm thinking we are.
Yeah, but that was honestly just super, super stressful, just knowing that people that we know, that we were chatting with,
Yeah.
before we left, 2 nautical miles out, had one of their rudders taken from them. They were on a catamaran, so they did have another rudder to be able to safely just throttle up as fast as they could and change directions to head into port. But yeah, super scary just to be knowing that we're right in the vicinity of where somebody got, you know, attacked.
The stress was high going over that strait, but then all of a sudden you're on the same like we were on the same track as those guys, and we just seen them veer hard left, and then we couldn't make radio contact at all for, I don't know, maybe an hour. So we were almost at where they were attacked by the time we were able to get radio contact. We were pretty much right there, and all of a sudden our stress levels just went.
I forgot to mention actually that right when we were leaving the anchorage, I mentioned that we had a buddy boat. They ended up not buddy boating with us because as they were picking up anchor, they realized that they had a transmission gearbox issue. So they ended up getting towed back over closer to Gibraltar, like La Linea. Motor's off, we've got both sails up, we're moving along quite nicely at 6 knots. And now we're trying to figure out where we're gonna go.
As silly as that sounds.
Originally, we're gonna round Cap Spartle and then continue, that's when we were gonna head south, to head to the Canaries. Then we were kind of looking at weather and then the map, and we're like, oh, should we go to Madeira? It was a thought on our minds before.
It's like Madeira, if we headed that way, the weather would actually be, I think, more comfortable.
Where we are now to Madeira is the same distance as from here to the Canaries. And Madeira looks pretty freaking cool, so we might end up there. We're not sure.
Who does this?
We do. But I think it's time to kick up our feet, grab some food, have a drink of water, and figure out where we want to go next.
Yeah, I definitely got to do some more weather routing here and figure it out. I'm 99.9% sure that we are clear of ORCA Alley, which I'm so happy. That was the most stressful sailing day we've had yet, for sure. Conditions been anywhere from 10 to 20 knots. Big seas. It's kind of what's left over from further north, but hopefully tomorrow it should lessen, and we still don't really know where we're going. Our Starlink isn't working, so I no longer can get weather, and for us to sort of play it safe, I think heading to Madeira would be a bit safer because the winds look a little less than what they could be if we were to head to Lanzarote. Canaries, I'm okay with going in heavier winds if I could see where I want to be. And I don't want to end up down there and be like, I didn't want to be in this area. So I think right now we're heading towards Madeira. So after, I'd say, midday tomorrow, that's when we really have to make the decision. We're still heading southwest, and it'll put us into some bit better winds, so when we do decide to make a hard right to Madeira, I think the winds will be more in our favor anyways. I'm going off of the last wind model I have from, now I guess a day and a half ago, which up in this area they changed quite a bit, but hopefully if it stays fairly true, then I'll feel confident in going to Madeira. But I'm really excited because Madeira actually looks, in my opinion, a lot prettier, and it is one of those places I think if we didn't go this time, we might not ever go, and then we'll make it up from there.
I get the sunrise every morning as my watch is from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. And although we've got a full enclosure to keep the wind, rain, and salt out overnight, It's still a bit chilly, so the sleeping bag helps a lot to stay cozy all night. Once the sun comes out, it gets pretty warm, so the sleeping bag's put away and it's time for breakfast. Some pineapple that Travis cut up yesterday and yogurt.
Just a few more hours, you'll be on your way. Like dancing on
Captain's log, day something, I think 3. We've had good conditions, sloppy conditions, all sorts of conditions. But I know I haven't had a proper cup of coffee. I've done our percolator style and I hate it. It's not the same. So we don't have enough power to run our espresso maker, but I think today's the day. I think it's calm enough we can run the generator. So I'm gonna make an espresso. We have power. That's what I've been missing in my life, right there. So it looks like we lost the wind, and if it's according to the predictions, about 6-7 hours we should be in less than like 8 knots of wind. And that doesn't really mean we can sail, but we have a secret weapon now, and I'm super eager to try it. We now have an asymmetrical spinnaker, which I'm really happy. I was just a little nervous about flying it without a sock, but lo and behold, we met some really nice people like a couple days before we were about to cross to the Canaries, and we're actually going to cross with them, but they had engine problems, unfortunately. But they had 2 extra spinnaker socks, and they gave us their old one. Like, it was insane, because I was looking at materials to go make one, and I just realized I'm not going to find anything there to make one, so that was MIA. Like, literally the day before, they're like, yeah, we got one, here you go. They're like, it stinks and all this, but like, we were going to buy it off them, but they said, I don't know, they just gave it to us. It's crazy. So here it is. I think it's just going to put a lot more confidence in Steph and I, able to fly it and then douse it if we had to, because we've never really flown a spinnaker. But the only problem is I have to try to set it up. Usually you do it on land. You attach the head of the sock to a point, and then you pull out all the ropes, so the spinnaker sock goes all the way up, and then you attach the spinnaker, you have it like out, and then you pull the sock out so it closes it. So the next time you deploy it, everything works great. Since we don't have that, I'm going to try to figure out how to do it on the boat. And I'm thinking right now I'm going to raise the sock up to the top. I'm going to pull the sock up so it's all up top by the pendant on the top, and then lower the halyard, and then go inside of our V-berth cabin. And then I'm going to hook the spinnaker to that, and then as we raise the spinnaker, I'm going to lower the sock and try to keep it so the spinnaker is open. And then when we deploy it, we'll see how it works. Got that all sorted. I'm gonna furl in the head sail. I'm gonna turn the motor on, and we're gonna head straight downwind. I'm gonna pull our mainsail out so it kind of shadows the wind even more, and then that should allow us to work with getting the asymmetrical up as I pull the sock down. And then once it's all up and attached, we'll aim back to course, and then we're going to deploy the spinnaker. In theory, hopefully that'll work.
Just furled in the head sail.
Whoa, you're in your face. Okay, so here we got the head of the sail and the pendant and the swivel. I'm just going to crank that down. And then as you raise the halyard for the spinnaker,
Yeah.
I'm going to pull the sock down, depending on all of this. Or we motor up to make no apparent wind, and then we just deploy it so that the sail can come out, so then it's not tangled in the sock. Okay. Yeah. Hold it. Hold on, lower it. Forgot to tighten up the swivel. Hold it. Okay.
We've never flown a spinnaker before, and we're arriving to our next destination with no change in that.
It's not working!
Okay, let the sheet go.
Guys, we're in Madeira. Anchor's down in this little harbor. Travis is washing down the boat already.
Got it. Gotta feel clean.
And we're over, what's this island called? Santa Ponsa, I believe. It's our first stop. I don't think we'll be staying here too long, probably a night in this
Couple nights.
harbor. What?
I think a couple nights, because then
Okay.
we got winds to sail over to the other spot.
Okay, so maybe a couple of nights, so we have wind to sail over to the next island. Literally just anchored, so we're just getting things sorted, cleaning the boat, and then we will dinghy into town. I think this bay has a bunch of mooring balls. I think there's a dozen or so mooring balls, all of those guys there. But you are able to anchor, so we're anchored. Believe there's a dinghy dock and all the things really accessible to the town that may be a 10-20 minute walk. So we'll go check that out. Landscape is just wild, so very, very excited to explore Madeira. Thanks for watching, and make sure you're subscribed. Madeira is frickin' epic, and we're sure it'll climb to the top of your bucket list. We'll see you in our next episode.